Hey, one godless woman. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to give you a little bit of a perspective that I think the lack of this perspective here in the West and in a country like Canada is causing a great deal of the confusion that's happening in the West. The perspective is mine. It's my perspective as someone who comes from a Muslim majority country. I don't know how else to deliver this except this way. So I'm just gonna deliver it this way. Being the world is divided, and we know this. Like, we've been divided ever since I've came to exist. I know that there is an east and that there is a west. Doesn't seem to be as critical as north and south, but the east and the west have always been polarized parts of the world. I don't know why. I think the west has always been fascinated with the money that the east has, and the east has always been obsessed with the freedoms of the West. So I grew up, I know I was born in England. I lived in London for a little bit, but I consider myself having grown up in Saudi Arabia. The lack, I think, of my genetic makeup makes me somewhat resistant to indoctrination. I don't know if that has to do with me being brought up in England first. Don't know. But someone who lived in the East, in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, Muslim majority country, I can tell you that since I can remember living in Saudi Arabia, whether it be in school, whether be it in public, with my friends, with my family, it doesn't matter where it is. There's always a sense, if we were to talk about anything happening in the States or in Europe, there's always a sense of we want what they have. There's always a sense of jealousy. There was always a sense of inferiority, even when I would travel with my family to the States or to England or to the Philippines or wherever it is we went. There was always a sense that we were less, that the only way that we can have a peek at this lifestyle that you guys have is for a very short period of time on a vacation, and we need a lot of money to be able to experience this freedom. So we go and we experience and we have fun and we buy and we live and we drink and we eat and we fuck and then we come back to live in oppression for the next year or so until we go out again and travel and spend a lot of money. And traveling isn't easy for women because we are not allowed to travel without a male guardian. So a lot of women don't even get to see the West, okay? Now, I want you to hold on to that point that I just made. There's another point that I'd like to make. The jealousy. I have not met one in my 20s, in my existence in the Middle East, I haven't met a person who likes anything about the West. They're jealous of you guys, but they don't like you. They want to take it from you, but they wish you harm as they do it. I'm speaking as someone who witnessed the aftermath in Saudi Arabia of 9/11. I was there watching the TV and listening to people cheer around me. I was there when I left the hospital, and when the event happened, I was still working. I was on shift, and people were dancing in the street. These now are the refugees that you guys are opening your doors for, by the way. Not to mention in school growing up, whenever we'd go on summer break and every girl would travel with her family and come back, it was a show-off event. Oh, I went to Amsterdam. Oh, I went to England. Oh, we did this and we bought that and we did this, and my mother is pregnant and we're gonna go have the baby in the States so the baby can be American. Well, that's nice. When the baby grows up, after the baby has been indoctrinated with hate towards the West, and then the baby relocates to America, what is this baby that is now a man or a grown woman going to think like? And how are they going, what will they provide to the West? Will they want what is best for the West, or will they want something else? The reason I'm saying this is because the migration, whatever pact or whatever destruction of the West Justin Trudeau has signed or is going to sign with the UN, he's got a good year to implement a good chunk of that plan, where he wants to bring in 350,000 immigrants, mainly from Muslim majority countries, third world countries, into Canada. I can tell you, as someone who lived in the Middle East, and please don't tell me you didn't live in all of the Middle East. The Middle East isn't that big. Once you've been to a few countries, you know it. You know. What are these people like? What's the plan here with these people? And I can tell you that it will not be a better place with the amount of mass. This is a mass migration, and in every country that it has happened, it has created complete society, like chaos in society, and crimes have become uncontrollable. I'm actually watching us become England at this point. I'm going to link an article about something that will help you understand what I'm talking about. It's about an artist, an Iranian artist in the 19th century. Her name was Shah. So look at the pictures in this article and read the article. It's not really that long, but it speaks of an Iranian Shah in the second part of the 19th century, where he traveled to, I guess, Europe, somewhere in Paris, and he attended a ballet, and he watched the ballerinas, with their French tutus, and he became captivated by the French tutu, and he wanted it, for his country and his women. So what he ended up doing is he went back to Iran and he introduced a modified version of the French tutu to his harem, and they wore it. So because he wanted this part of the West, he wanted to enjoy it, but he wanted to enjoy it in the Islamic way. So look at the pictures that this artist recreated. These were not actual harem of the Iranian Shah. These were models that she used. But look at the pictures of the models in their hijabs and their tutus, and then they are holding these modern day devices like a vacuum cleaner or a Pepsi bottle, a Pepsi can. This is how envious the East is of the West, and how much they want to become you. And what I was trying to say, I tweeted about this article yesterday, is that they have been unable to become the West. They have been sending their students here. I mean, you saw what happened. Saudi just pulled all of its students out of Canada. And now Canada is in deep doo-doo because Canada has prioritized educating the Middle East over educating its own. And now we have a doctor's crisis going on, because all of the doctor positions were given to Saudis, who would take your education and go back home. But you know why they failed and they couldn't learn much other than the science that they learned? And even then, when you go home, if it doesn't mix and merge with Islam, they'll leave it, right? So what I remember growing up in Saudi, and when I went to medical school, and I would have these professors teaching us. The professor of nephrology, like, he went to his residency in Canada. The professor of the ENT was a graduate from Canada. Their beards were down to here. They hated women. They would kick me out of lectures if my hair would be showing. These were people that were educated in the West. They hated women even more when they came back. Why? Why were they not able to learn? They came here. They lived here for at least 4 to 7 years to get their education. Why did they come back even worse? This is what I don't understand. And to me, they have tried so much and so hard to become like the West, and they've failed miserably, that they have now decided to bring themselves here in the form of refugees or whatever, fake something, fake asylum seekers, fake refugees, fake migrants. They're here to take over because they've tried in many ways and they have not been able to. That's my interpretation of what's going on. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going on, but that's how I see it, because I came from the East and I saw how much they want to become like you, but they are unable. So there's that little rant. The artist her name is Shadi, by the way. And again, I'll link the article. It's quite the fascinating article. You should read it and share it with your friends. The other thing I wanted to talk about, sorry, this is a little bit of a longer rant than usual, is our Lone Ranger PM. Did you see? I'm gonna link this article as well. This man is crazy. He's lost his mind. He rode on a black horse. I don't know when. I guess it was over the weekend because that's when I read the article. But I guess I'm not 100% sure. But you really have to see this if you haven't. He rode on a horse like a warrior to go visit an indigenous sect or group of people to apologize for the hanging of a bunch of their people that happened over 110 years ago. And my understanding, it was even like closer to 150 years ago. So Canada was not really Canada. So he went and he cried some tears there and apologized for the hanging of a bunch of their people. And he rode on a horse because he's a knight in shining armor. So there is the joke for the week. Actually, this is another just joke. He's just a joke. Like, you just laugh at this man. And I can't help but, I can't help but sit. Like, this is the ultimate act of social justice warriorism. This piece of shit prime minister sat there and he talked about Marissa Shen's rape and murder like it didn't matter. It was devastating for her family, he said. And then when he was asked about bringing in the Syrian refugees that were unvetted, and that had he not done that, people are saying that had he not done that, Marissa Shen would still be alive. And then he said, oh, I'm not one of those people. This is the same man that rode on a horse to go apologize to people for something that happened before you and I even existed. Okay? This is the same man who wouldn't meet with Tory Stafford's dad about moving the piece of shit that's in the healing lodge, healing the murderer, rapist woman. He wouldn't meet with the dad of the child that this woman raped and helped murder to hear him out. This is the same prime minister. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was Saudi is killing us. Saudi is now openly hunting everyone who has escaped and has openly dissented against the country. So far, 2 sisters have washed up nearby the Hudson River in the States. This was October 24th. No one can figure out what happened. All we know is they were abused. No one knows who killed them, how they died, anything, we don't know. Their bodies are being examined, apparently, and that's going to take months. New York, Saudi guy was found stabbed 60 times, tied to his apartment chair. And of course, we all know about Khashoggi, the journalist, who the media are trying, listen, no one deserves to die this miserable death and I'm not saying he deserved it, but Jamal Khashoggi was no angel. Okay? And please try to be aware of what you're reading, because there is a lot of propaganda going on out there. And I do like Trump, but I don't understand what he's doing with the Saudis and why he's trying to help them cover this up. I know Trump tends to be 5 steps ahead of us all, but this is really confusing me. So if you guys have any thoughts on why Trump is trying to exonerate Saudis so much, I'm hoping that he's trying to deplete them of money and oil and then wage war or nuke them. And I'm only talking about the government, I'm not talking about the Saudi people. I do not wish harm for the Saudi people. So there we are. I don't know how many minutes have gone. It's probably 15 minutes or so. I do apologize for the length of this. And one more thing before I go. The state of healthcare in Nova Scotia has gone to shit. I don't know where these 350,000 immigrants that this crazy prime minister, he's going to bring into Canada, where they're going to go. But if your healthcare is anywhere similar to ours here in Nova Scotia, good luck, because we have a failing. Actually, it has failed completely. I was in ER with a high fever and severe pain. I thought I was dying. I waited in ER from 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. to be seen. And I left after 12 hours. And they still weren't sure what was wrong with me. They just threw a whole bunch of antibiotics at me. So take care, everybody, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the questions that I have for you on today's video.